of anyone in the region. And the last thing I'll mention, and again, we're going to come back to this and look at it in greater detail, is more and more crypto is being used as a form of collateral in a transaction. And that's something very, very noteworthy for all of us here today, because when we can help a client find the money to own the property that they want to own, obviously the likelihood of that transaction goes way up, and our ability to earn a fee does as well. Let's see, here we go. All right. So again, this is what we're going to talk about, how we can own properties with crypto. Know your client and due diligence. Very, very important in this space. It's important in all space, of course. And then we're going to talk about how we ask the right questions. And then we're going to look at some hot spots where crypto is absolutely happening. So first, we're going to step all the way back, and we're just going to do a real base level conversation about what is crypto, what is Bitcoin, what is the blockchain, right? The blockchain is a software program, right? That's really what it is. It's a code. It's a set of code, software code that supports other things like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is written from this platform called the blockchain. And so are many other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin being the first, probably the biggest, the most famous, of course, but now many, many other coins out there as well. But the other things that can be written onto this blockchain are things like smart contracts, titles, other things that you want to have permanency. That's a huge thing about the blockchain. It's highly distributed and it's permanent. It is unchangeable once it's been written. And these are the things that make it a very, very valid and dynamic platform for things like smart contracts and titles. And we're starting to see more and more organizations utilizing the blockchain for those. We're still in the infancy, of course. The mainstream titling is still done the way that it's always been done, and contracts are still done on paper, and now they're electronic and DocuSign and all those kinds of things, of course. But more and more these particular elements are being done on the blockchain, sometimes in parallel to the standard traditional ways. Over time, the blockchain should indeed take over on many of these because of the permanence and the transparency. Again, two things that really, really matter: transparency and permanence. To hold the value of those contracts and assets.
Mike, can I have a question? Can I give a question? My name is Angelica. I just want to know, when you said that the blockchain is permanent, it can't be changed, I don't understand what you mean by that. Are you saying once you put something in there, you can't erase it or change it? Or are you talking about the general? I don't get it. I don't know what you mean.
Sure. No, thank you. Great question. It's unerasable, right? So it's highly distributed. There are hundreds of millions of computers around the world that all have a record of this transaction. Let's say you write a contract on the blockchain, right? So you've agreed to buy something from somebody, and they've agreed to sell it. You put it on the blockchain, and it is now set. And it's now distributed on across hundreds of millions of computers around the world. So there's no way to go erase it, because how do you go erase something that's on 100 million computers, right? So it's permanent in that sense. Now, if you change the terms of the contract, you can go back and renegotiate the contract, but you can't erase, right, what's out there. And that's one of the things, again, from a fraud standpoint, right? I mean, we don't see this in the States very much anymore, but we do see a lot overseas where somebody will sell the same property 2 or 3 times, right? Why? Because there's a paper title in a file cabinet somewhere, and it's easy to fraud on that, right? But if the title's online, if it's on the blockchain, there's really no way to sell a property more than one time, unless somebody's not doing due diligence, of course, right? So did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you. So it's basically it can't get lost, and it's hard to get it to be a fraudulent kind of thing. Okay.
Absolutely. Right. Okay. Oh, you're welcome. And so, as we start to look at and again, sometimes, Bitcoin, what is it? It's a fad. And I don't know, maybe it is a fad. We don't know yet, right? Fads are 2, 3, 4 years. Bitcoin's been around since 2013. So what's that, 9 years? But anyway, money has changed over time, right? We had old coins, we had bullion, we had paper money. People would write ledgers. You'd go to the store and they would write down how much you owe, and you'd come clear your account at the end of the month. Checkbooks, right? Now we're really talking about something, hey, you write a piece of paper, right? And that became money and hand it to somebody, right? Credit cards, that was the next evolution. Then all of a sudden people are able to pay online, right? Pay online. And now we can even just take our phones. I mean, I don't know how to do it, but kids just tap their phones together and money transfers, right? And so this idea of money has really changed over the centuries. And the next evolution of money is really just simply Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, a couple things on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a big thing today. Its value is about $20,000. It's fallen from a high of about 65,000. So we've seen an incredible collapse in all of the cryptocurrencies. But just like one Bitcoin, you have a dollar and you can break it into pennies. A Bitcoin, you can break it up into much smaller pieces called Satoshis. The thing about Bitcoin and some of the other coins, and this is really, really important in a distinction between what is a utility coin or a utility token and something that is simply speculative. As with most, kind of new things, let's just say new things, you have a lot of people coming into the space, they're taking advantage of hype, right? And a lot of the coins that were put out there early on were simply hype. They were investments, and I put that in quotes because I don't think that something without utility is ever really an investment. Bitcoin and several other of the coins actually have utility, whether it's being able, like Ethereum, you can actually use the Ethereum platform to create contracts and other things on the blockchain. Bitcoin as a medium of transaction, it has a historical basis of transactional utility. So those kinds of things make a difference. And those are the things that we need to pay attention to if we're going to serve our clients, to make sure that we're paying attention to the right things. Does the coin or in this case, token or coin have utility? And then how do we ensure that the transaction occurs in such a way that it protects the value of the seller and the buyer, right? And we're going to come to that. Now we're going to talk about, a couple just why we should pay attention. Easy, big money's there. A lot of the hedge funds have ownership in cryptos. About 16% of US citizens have either purchased crypto or currently own it. And more importantly, the next generation, again, I waved my phone around a minute ago as, kids are tapping their phones and trading money. I still mail checks to people, right? And my wife handles all the online banking, right? So we're moving there, but I don't know how to do the phone thing. But the millennials and the Gen Zers, this is the generation that really gets it, really wants it, and is excited about it. And right, at this point, not many millennials and Gen Zers buying homes. They're not doing big transactions. But if you're in business or plan to be in business for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, this is absolutely a generation that you want to pay attention to, and you want to be on the front edge, right? The big money, again, there's a lot of big institutions, and I like the ones across the bottom: Yale, Dartmouth, Harvard, MIT, Fairfax County, Miami-Dade County in Florida. All of these institutions or educational institutions, government institutions, they are engaging in this medium. They are in the crypto space, as are the big banks and the big tech companies, of course, right? But when these big institutional entities engage in something like crypto, it's got staying power. Again, around 16% of the folks are either have owned crypto, plan to own crypto, or do own crypto. Again, that means that 84% haven't, right? So the vast majority of the folks don't engage in it. But again, as this younger generation moves up, these millennials, these Gen Zers, and we're seeing this lack of faith in these banking institutions and these institutions, right? And look at this number: 92% of millennials don't trust banks. 92% of millennials. I mean, that's an incredible statistic, right? And so what do they trust? Well, a lot of them trust crypto and Bitcoin. And so when we can understand that, and we can understand this is the generation of home buyers for the next, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, we need to be paying attention to what they will be thinking. And Obviously, they've seen incredible printing of money. Now we're seeing the results of that in the form of inflation. And again, many of these millennials and Gen Zers, they're just starting out. They're the ones that get hit the hardest. When it went from $45, $50 to fill your gas tank to $100 to fill your gas tank, and you're working at Starbucks or your first couple jobs, right? That's a big deal. So they're feeling it. And so this distrust in the banking institutions and currency is there, and it's real. And many of them, by the way, in my generation, the baby boomers, the greatest generation, we saw gold as sort of the inflation hedge. We would gold, metals, whatever, and that's how we might hedge against inflation, right? The young generation could care less about metals, right? But they're looking at crypto and Bitcoin, Bitcoin specifically, as a way to hedge against inflation. So we're seeing this change of mentality, but the same fundamental reasons, right? And again, we need to understand that our way of doing things was one way. The new generation is looking at it a very different way. A couple things we talked about, getting it right, helping our clients get it right. So if we have clients who are engaged in crypto, looking to do transactions, these are simple, easy, right? You got to have a password. You can't lose it. The thing that gets brought up a lot of times is this idea of, well, crypto, Bitcoin, it's just for drug dealers. But the vast majority of drug transactions actually take place with cash, right? And the cash could go into a drug dealer's hand today, and tomorrow it could be used to buy an ice cream, right? The dollars go in circulation. So this idea of, oh, it's just the bad people using Bitcoin and crypto, I mean, it really is nonsense. And I think we just need to, again, look at the facts of where do most drug transactions, terrorism transactions, those kinds of things, it happens in fiat currency, not crypto.
Could I do one more question here?
Of course.
On the previous PowerPoint, the one before this one, it says something about seed, planting the seed, or what is seed?
Yes, a seed is a set of four-letter words that becomes your recovery. Like if they ask you what was your first car, right? Or what's your favorite food or something like that, right? So your seed is those kinds of, it's not really a question. It's a set of, it's like a duplicate set of passwords that help you recover a password, basically. But it's a backup system for password recovery is the best way to describe it. That's your seed. So again, you store that, and many people lock that up in a safety deposit box at the bank, right? So you have your password on your computer, whatever, however you keep that in your head. But then if you forget it or lose it, you can run down to the bank, open up the safety deposit box, pull out the seed, and get a password recovery. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. You can tell I'm one of those people that only have the Bitcoin yet, right?
Hey, this is why we're doing this. Thank you. And by the way, I'm guessing that a lot of other people sat there and said, I don't know what a seed is, but nobody asked. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking about, bad actors, right? The drug dealers, the anti-money laundering, that's what AML stands for in the top, anti-money laundering, KYC, know your client. And so again, these are just part and parcel of when you set up a wallet, when you transact now vis-a-vis crypto through the major entities like Coinbase, BitPay, and others. All of this KYC, know your client stuff, happens in the background. It happens real time. And so if your clients are moving into the space, they're going to be asked for this kind of information, and they shouldn't be surprised, because again, it is about protection of the transactional medium, the Bitcoin in that case, right? But we want it to stay clean, and the only way to keep it clean is to have great KYC, AML procedures in the background to make sure that that the bad actors are transacting in other ways to keep this medium of transaction safe and clean for the folks that want to use it appropriately, of course. And the other thing is that, the idea that, you can't recover, but the FBI was actually able to recover about 80% of a horrible transaction, right? They shut down the Colonial Pipeline, and oil and gas on the East Coast shut down on a ransomware thing, and they paid with Bitcoin, but the FBI was able to get almost all of it back. So again, it's actually, I mean, a suitcase of money would have been a lot harder to get back than 63 Bitcoins out of 75, right? And so again, we start to look at things a little differently. We see that we can actually do more when it's electronic than we can if it's paper money, say, for, cash in a suitcase, whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to go into this, but we'll send anybody who would like a copy of the presentation. This is how a transaction actually occurs. It's a step-by-step process. It involves the KYC. It involves a test send. It actually then involves the actual send of the transaction. So it's a pretty set procedure. Doesn't vary. And again, using the big wallets like Coinbase, BitPay, and others, this is exactly how it's done to ensure that the transaction is proper and occurs to the satisfaction of both buyer and seller, both ends of the transaction. I'm going to talk a little bit about why Bitcoin will be an incredible disruptor. It's already starting to be a little bit of a disruptor. Again, we're just seeing 16% of the folks out there have it. The number of folks transactional is much lower than that. But you start to eliminate middlemen, right? In a lot of transactions, the trust that you get by having it on the blockchain, that transaction is logged forever, right? It's out there. So if somebody wants to go look it up, great. What is there proof of that transaction? Absolutely. Here's the proof, right? Title registry, record keeping, again, it's permanent, which adds a lot of value. And so types of document storage areas and document storage companies, if they don't start to move to the blockchain for their document storage for clients, other folks will. So again, this is really becoming a disruptor. We're at the very, very beginning stages. So expect a lot more disruption. And when we have disruption, we have lots of people kind of like, scared, right? It makes us nervous, right? Because if it's our business, how are we going to adapt? And so you guys are on top of things. You're here today, you're paying attention. Understand that it will be a disruptor, pay attention to the technology as it evolves and changes and what's happening, and you'll stay on the front end of it. And the disruption will maybe benefit you because you will be able to anticipate where you can serve a client in new ways or in different ways that you have not had the ability to or the need to in the past. It can be a great thing as well as a bad thing, right? Disruption is good for some, bad for some. We have a choice to be on the good for some side of this because we're paying attention today. Collateral, I mentioned that a minute ago. I mean, obviously houses, boats, gold, stock, dollars, whatever. And these are all things that have been collateral in the past. But today, Bitcoin, crypto has become collateral for loans. And the first blockchain loan was a couple years ago, I guess not quite a couple years ago, almost exactly a year ago, last May. This was the big one that was the first one that was announced. And I'm very proud to say that we are one of the first companies to have transacted on a Bitcoin loan. It's probably the biggest on record in the world, right? We were able to secure a funding loan for our Marriott in Belize. We have a Bitcoin billionaire. The guy bought it when it was $10, $8-10, and he bought thousands and thousands and thousands of coins. And now they're worth 20, 30 grand a piece, whatever they're worth, right? So he took a chunk of his assets in Bitcoin, pledged it. We were able to partner with a lender who gave us the cash to build our Marriott in Belize, and the collateral was his Bitcoin. It is absolutely one of the first transactions and probably the largest transaction where Bitcoin was used as collateral in the world. So again, this really was a result. We didn't see this 5 years ago when we said, yeah, we'll take Bitcoin for a transaction. But the impact has been huge for our organization. And
try another question, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. I love what you're doing, and I'm understanding it finally because my son has a web developing company, and back 9 years ago, a guy owed him 400 and basically couldn't pay and gave him a couple Bitcoins. All right. But what happened was it went up to 65,000. Then it's 20,000. So
right.
I personally, when you're speaking, I don't understand how this could be a solid kind of collateral or anything, because it seems like it completely changes so fast.
Yep.
So like, let's say that I wanted to sell my house and I took Bitcoin. Well, if it's worth 60, then it goes down to 20,000. What do I do? That's my biggest question when you're speaking about all this. So
Yeah, great question. There were several questions in there. Let me kind of hit them
okay,
one at a
sure.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So let me start with the value of the Bitcoin, right? Your son got it at 400, went to 65. Now it's 20. And again, we're at the very front edge of a technology and a concept, right? And so we're seeing wild swings in the value of these coins, right? And if we look at the coins in terms of like something like stocks, for example, right? Stocks move up and down, and they don't usually move that radically, but they do move. Currencies certainly move up and down vis-a-vis other currencies all the time. And so we have this volatility of the asset class. And because it's new, we're seeing, a more extreme volatility, right? From 65 to 20 and all that kind of stuff, right? So that is to be expected. Our loan, in this case, there was a third party. I didn't mention it. There was a third party to the transaction, and it's actually a fund that manages that volatility by shorting Bitcoin, which they did. And so basically the value of the loan or the collateral, the value of the collateral stays flat, right? When Bitcoin drops in value, the shorting of the Bitcoin allows more Bitcoin to be purchased and put in as collateral, so that the value of the collateral stays within a few percentage points, but because it's fluid, but within a point or two, it stays solid at that value because Bitcoin falls, more Bitcoin is added to the collateral based on this shorting. This, again, it's a hedge fund that does this piece. So you have a lender, you have a hedge fund, and then you have us. By the way, to be really clear, we took it was $34 million out of the 52, which is the finance part of our hotel. We took the $34 million and put it in our bank account. Bitcoin could go to zero tomorrow. The value of that collateral could go to absolute zero for the lender and for the hedge fund. We still have $34 million sitting in our bank account. So our risk is zero. Their risk is, whatever. But because they're using a hedge fund to maintain the value of the collateral, and they have, even with Bitcoin going from 65 to 20, that's how they resolved that issue. Other companies.
How does the hedge fund, where did you get the Bitcoin from to do that? Is that just like a middleman kind of thing, or?
Yeah, it is. It's just like it's the same thing with the stock hedge fund in stocks, right? If they short the market or they short a particular stock, basically what they're doing is agreeing to buy it at a lower price. And so, they have the cash to do that. So they buy it at the lower price and make the difference, so to speak, between the higher price that they anticipated, the lower price, and pick up the gain. But instead of actually picking up the gain as dollars, they pick it up as in the form of more Bitcoin. So again, that stock companies do this on a regular basis. Shorting and long and short in the marketplace. It's the same principles. It's just done on the crypto markets. The same thing in Forex. There are Forex companies that kind of bet up and down in currencies, and that's how they trade and make their money. So it's a very established practice. It's just a new specific asset class that it's being done within. But the other side of this is, you ask a very specific question. I'm going to answer it specifically. If you sell your home for, I'll make them, 10 Bitcoins, whatever that is, right? And they're worth $65 or $65,000 today. You have a choice. When those coins hit your wallet, I'll tell you exactly how our company does it. When a coin hits our wallet, within minutes, 95% of the value of those coins, right, is transferred into US dollars. It comes in Bitcoin, and within minutes, 95% of that value is in US dollars in my Coinbase wallet, which links to my Citizens bank account, right? So, and that probably happens the next day. But within minutes, it's out of the coin, and within a day, it's in my Citizens bank account in US dollars, right? So I choose to have 5% risk. I choose to keep 5% in the coin. You as the seller might choose to do that. Or you might say, nope, I want 100% of it to immediately move into US dollars in my bank account. And you have taken the volatility risk to nearly zero. It can move in a minute or two, it can move some. So, you'll either pick up or lose in that minute or two, but that's it. So the client, the seller always has the ability to control risk all the way down to next to zero risk in the transaction, or they may want to keep some coins and see what that does for them. So that's specifically how we do it. And I think that's how most sellers of property would likewise see themselves doing it. Because again, you want to sell your house for $600,000. You want $600,000 in your bank account when it's all said and done. So
basically, thank you for that answer. The basic thing to me then is still cash is the bottom line. I mean, so I'm thinking Bitcoin's going to take and make cash obsolete, but it doesn't really seem like that could happen because it's so flexible and cash is more solid. So,
well, yeah, but again, we're right at the very beginning of this as a transactional medium. And so I think that in the next, who has a crystal ball? I don't, but in the next, say 5 to 10 years, I think it will become more ascendant in transactional business. I think from 10 to 20 years, it will become maybe mainstream. And I think 20 years from now, it may be, or similar. It wouldn't have to be Bitcoin. It could be, crypto, because the U.S. government, many of the governments around the world are moving to a coin. I mean, they want their own version of a cryptocurrency. And again, because it's on the blockchain, it's permanent. There are a lot of reasons why this technology really works and makes sense and is better than the current, ABA, SWIFT kind of systems. And in this example, I got the slide of El Salvador up, and I'll use this as a reason why crypto really in many places is far better. So El Salvador actually made Bitcoin legal tender last September, and they were the first country in the world to do so. And this was a big deal for Bitcoiners. Obviously, Bitcoiners are cheering from around the world. Wow, I mean, a country makes Bitcoin legal. But El Salvador has, I can't remember the number. It might be 2 million people. I forget. It's a big number of expats who have left El Salvador, live in the United States, Canada, right, around the world, but many of them in the U.S. and Canada. And and they send money home to mom, right, or to sis or whoever, right. And so they're up there working in the States and Canada, and they need to send money back home, right. So they have, and it's little money. It's $100 or $200, right, or $300 in a paycheck. So they have, let's say $300. So they go to Western Union, and they send money back to mom, and they have $300, and Western Union charges them $50, $75 to do that. Right. Mom has to then get in a car or a bus. She doesn't have a car. Mom gets on a bus in El Salvador and goes to the Western Union office an hour or two away, stands in a big long line, and pays another $25 to get her 300. But now it's $225 when it gets to El Salvador, and she has to pay another $25. So the son or daughter up in the States sent 300, mom gets 200, right? And it's taken everybody a lot of time, right? Remittances is the word for this, remittances. And so El Salvador just made it instantaneous and pennies. Now the son or daughter up in the States puts $300 of Bitcoin on their phone, right? Maybe they get $300 in cash, they buy $300 of Bitcoin, and that costs them, 4 cents, right? So now they got $299.96, and they send that to mom, right? And that transaction eats up a couple pennies. But mom gets $299 out of 300, and she doesn't have to get on a bus or do anything because it's right there on her phone, right? That's huge. And that's the kind of technological advance that works so well with something like remittances. But international wires cost, $30, $50, $75, $100, right? And so this technology, we talked about getting disruptors and getting rid of middlemen, right? The bankers don't like this. I get it. I understand why the bankers don't like traditional bankers, because now all of a sudden, who's going to pay $100 wire fee anymore? Who's going to go to Western Union and give Western Union $75 when they're trying to send mom $300? So again, this is a disruptor, and there are applications of this technology that far exceed what any dollar fiat electronic dollar or fiat transaction can happen. So again, I think over the next 10 years, it's going to get mainstream. I think 20 years on, it's probably going to be the basis, this blockchain built financial system, whether it's Bitcoin or it's the USDC, United States dollar coin, any of those things. Those will be the transactional platform going forward because they just make so much more sense and they reduce the cost of transactions for all consumers. But again, that's 10, 15, 20 years from now, I think. I mean, it could happen sooner. Things move quicker, with technology than maybe we anticipate. But I think this one example of El Salvador, solving a huge problem for their citizens, right, is tremendous. And Bitcoin has become transactional in El Salvador as well. In fact, let's just hit El Salvador real quick. I mean, this lady right here on the left, Rosa, who sells pupusas, the pupusas are like 30 cents a piece, 3 for $1, right? She'll take 33 cents of Bitcoin for a pupusa, right? On her phone. And it's just done like that. And so what we're seeing is the transactional nature of Bitcoin in action, in a country like El Salvador specifically. We were actually approached by a guy by the name of Mike Peterson, who was the godfather of Bitcoin. He's the guy that got it all started in El Salvador. He approached us to develop his property. This is a beautiful piece of property he has right by Bitcoin Beach. He said, hey, I'm in the food business. I don't know anything about development. Would you guys build a community for me to serve Bitcoiners? And that's exactly what we're doing. Just an idea of what some of the homes there are going to look like. The other thing that's happening is people are looking at residency options. And again, this is really for Bitcoiners specifically. The people who have done well with Bitcoin, they bought it for $10, or your son got it for 400, or however many coins, right? People who got in early, they have a lot of assets and they want to support a country like El Salvador. And so El Salvador has made it very easy to give someone a permanent residency. So they buy a home there. They can come down and stay for as long as they want. They can keep a home in the States, go back and forth, because now they're a resident of El Salvador, as well as being, say, a resident of the US or Canada. It gives them multiple residencies, and El Salvador has made it very, very easy for folks to do that. And again, we're building this community for Bitcoiners. It's very, very specific. And then just to wrap up here and hit the last couple of things. And then again, I think we've had a lot of really good questions. Ellen, by the way, I think you were the one. And here, do me a favor. When I get to there's going to be an email address in a second. Send an email with your mailing address, and I'm going to send you a little treat for being student of the day here.
Well, thank you.
Good. So, but send me a physical address, and I'll mail you a little goodie box. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Thank you. No, great question. And look, people are coming to Latin America, and this is more general. We've kind of moved out of the crypto, but it's still relevant. And we're going to circle back to that in a minute. But your clients, 1 out of 10 U.S. citizens and 45% of Canadians. I saw Sharon on here. Sharon, hello, Sharon. Thanks for joining us. 45% of Canadians plan to spend a month or more outside of Canada every year, and 11% of US citizens are seriously considering property ownership overseas, right? So 1 out of 10 and 1 out of 2, right, of our existing clients, the people we already serve, are looking at property ownership outside Canada and the US. Well, why? Because they can go fishing, surfing, diving, snorkeling, have this incredible quality of life, right? And so these are the reasons people are coming. And this is truly an opportunity for us to serve those folks again. If we've sold a home, listed a home, we've helped somebody buy a home, right? These are all clients that we already have. And a good percentage of those people are actually looking at doing something overseas. Well, we can help them again. And one of the things, and this particular community, this AVA community, is very crypto community specific. If you have people in your network who are considering property ownership and they have crypto, this is actually a community that our very first community that we built. This is our Grand Pacifica community. This is the original phase 1, phase 2. We're building right now. We have a tiny home community, very, very popular with the crypto folks. Price points at 130,000, right? Financing is available. And we have 86 homes under construction right now. They're all solar, they're off grid, and probably, I'm going to make up a number, at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of these owners paid in part or in full with crypto. So I say that because like this is a real market. Like here are 60 out of 80 homes that were purchased in part or in full with crypto. Okay. Now they like solar, they like off grid, they like eco, right? These are all things that fit that demographic, that millennial Gen Z. And when there are properties for under $150,000 and somebody can put 20% down and finance 80%, now all of a sudden you've got a whole new demographic, that millennial set who are in their 30s. A lot of those folks do have 30, 40, 50 grand that they can put down on a home. They can finance the rest. They're interested in eco. They're interested in crypto. And in fact, many of them bought Bitcoin when it was, 10, 20, 30, $400, and now it's worth 20,000, right? So again, a lot of these folks have assets. They just haven't really figured out how to use them yet, right? In a way that's meaningful to them. And this is a way that it's meaningful to them, things that are important to them. They can work from home. And we talk about this remote worker. In fact, Lisa and I were talking before the thing got started, that for the first time ever in human history, think about this for a second. Back in, we went from agricultural to industrial, right? People still had to, people worked on the farm, then all of a sudden they had to go work in a factory, right? And we moved from industrial to post-industrial, but people still got in their car and drove, an hour in traffic to talk on the phone or type on their computer, right? Well, they didn't need to do that. We know that now because, we were all sent home with COVID, or most of us were sent home with COVID, right? And so all of a sudden, workers now have permission. Many workers have permission to work from home, and home, if it could be, somewhere in Arizona and right outside the office, so to speak, why can't it be in a place like Grand Pacific or Belize or Costa Rica or Panama? And this is driving the market. And again, we're Pepper, I see your hand up. I'm going to get you 1 second. But the thing that we have to understand as real estate professionals, this is where we bring real value to the transaction. In fact, I'm going to bop ahead in just a second and get to that. But Pepper, let me answer your question first.
I had a client reach out to me and ask me, do you know anything about binary options trading? Is that the same thing as what you're talking about?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
He said, sorry to say that very few people know about binary options trading. 6 months ago, only 2% of people knew about it. This is an Asian client, and I don't know what that means.
You know what? I'm in the 98% on that one.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay, just wondering.
But thank you for asking. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, tiny homes, medium-sized homes, again, homes at the beach. I mean, an oceanfront home for under $400,000. These are the products that people are looking at. We have Best Western residences in Belize, again, under $150,000. Our Marriott property in Belize under development, $320,000, $350,000 oceanfront residences. Now I want to get to why it's important for you to help your clients. I hope that you will decide to help your clients. And this is why they're buying, by the way. Many of them are looking for that diversification, path of progress, and the better quality of life. These are the drivers why 10% of US and 50% of Canadians are looking at property ownership overseas, outside their home countries, right? This is what's driving the market. The 1 in 10 considering property overseas. In the US, again, 45% in Canada. And what we've done is we've created a program. This program is now 11 years old. We created this program for realtors. In fact, it's what got me invited to the Presidential Advisory Group back in 2017. Janet Branton was the vice president then, and Jeff Hornberger was still with NAR. Now he's the CEO of the Women's Council. But Jeff and I had gotten to know each other about 15, 18 years ago now. And I developed this program for realtors. And what he wanted to do was get me into this PAG to help NAR understand how not only can we serve people globally who are looking to own property in the United States or own property in Canada, right? How can we help our US and Canadian clients who are buying property in Mexico, Argentina, Thailand, France, right? Anywhere outside the home country. And so we created a program. It's now, again, 11 years old. It's time tested, battle tested, and it is so easy. It is just simply so easy. First, we have to identify the 1 out of 10 or the 50%, right? We have to identify them. Then we serve them, right? Then we serve them, and then we earn for the value that we bring to the transaction, right? So Myra is one of our affiliates, and this is her signature box, right? She has her name, her phone number, and all the stuff underneath it, right? But right below that, it just says, if you want to own a property with crypto, I can help. Or if you want to own a property overseas, I can help, right? And what happens, this is so soft, right? This is all stuff that we have. It's ready, copy, paste, and that's it. You literally copy and paste this. It's all set up for you with your unique tracking link, right? So Myra's link is Myra's link. And when somebody clicks that and says, I didn't know she could help me with crypto, or I didn't know she could help me with a property overseas, and they click that, that person is tagged to Myra for life. She is the lead source of record for life, right? Now, that person can download the crypto handbook. They can download the consumer resource guide, which will show you how you guys can grab a copy, and you should grab a copy so you can see what your clients need, okay? These tools are available and they cost you nothing. They're free for you, right? And this is incredible value that you can bring to the transaction. We're going to look at exactly why that is. Web banners, newsletter articles, all of these things. We have the consumer resource guide, country handbooks for your clients, right? Again, as people start this process, it takes a while, 6 months to 6 years. Right? It takes a long time for people to want to move from wanting to move overseas to doing their research, taking some trips to actually transacting. This is a significant time. We've given you the ability to provide resources to the folks who are doing this. Again, we work throughout the region. We've been doing it a long time, since 1996. This is how you get a copy of the Consumer Resource Guide. I encourage you can either send an email to affiliate@ecidevelopment.com, right? Send an email or scan the QR code. Please get a copy of this. And I'll tell you why, because your clients don't know what they don't know. They really don't know that they're moving from a seller beware environment, the US and Canada, lots of consumer protections, lots of agencies, regulatory bodies, lots of laws, right? There are lots of ways that a consumer is protected in the United States and Canada, right? But when you go overseas, you're actually going to buyer beware. You're going to environments that don't have the laws, or if they exist, they're not enforced. Your clients don't know what they don't know. This document has 15 questions that people should ask, consumers should ask when they buy property overseas. And if you just do this, you have brought incredible value to the transaction for your clients. And I hope that you will grab a copy of this, take a look at it for yourself, and then decide if you want to help serve your clients who are looking for property overseas. By the way, I don't have this QR code, but if you would like a copy of the Owning Real Estate with Crypto resource kit, we also have that same email address. Just type in crypto resource or something like that, and we'll make sure you get a copy of that. So we have the Consumer Resource Guide, which is due diligence when we buy property overseas. We have the crypto resource as well. Send you both of those if you'd like them. This is, again, we look forward to serving your clients, to helping you serve your clients, to bringing value to the transaction, helping them make better due diligence decisions. And if they're in the crypto space, then helping them to transact in a way that's correct, responsible, and secure to make sure that transaction happens in a way that they want to have happen. And Ellen, your question about protecting the value of that transaction, again, those are the kinds of things that you'll see in some of the resources, but those are the kinds of things that, again, the value you can bring to a transaction to make sure it occurs well for your client. So that's it for prepared remarks. I don't know if we have questions Shanae, if you're around, or
I have one more. Could I just ask?
sure.
Okay, I know it's probably really naive, but you know how Fort Knox, I'm in my 60s, so Fort Knox was our backup for cash, right? So what is the backup for Bitcoin? What you know what I'm saying? Crypto. Where is this? The silver, the gold. How is this? I just want to understand it so I get what's going on.
Sure. Right. Well, in 1972, we did go off the gold standard. And so many people believe, I do, that there probably isn't enough gold to back up the, $28 trillion of fiat currency that's been, I say printed, nobody prints money. Well, that's not true. They still print some money, right? But they send it off electronically now. But, $28 trillion of US dollars that are out in circulation around the world. I just seriously doubt that there's that much gold sitting in Fort Knox or anywhere else. So I don't believe that the dollar is really backed by gold anymore. Certainly not officially since 1972. But the idea is that the dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, right? I think that says that on the money or something, right? But that's the idea, the full faith and credit. Well, what is that? That's faith. I mean, that's just faith in something that's not tangible. The thing about Bitcoin is that a lot of people like this. I like this. Is that Bitcoin has a total possible number to be created of 21 million. That's it. Like the software that it was written in will not permit more than 21 million Bitcoins to ever be created. So it's a finite capacity, unlike dollars, which can be printed, and in fact, hold on, I'll come right back. I'm going to show you guys this. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. This is a $100 trillion note from Zimbabwe, where they just literally printed money till it was truly worthless. 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars at the end, I think, were worth maybe 7 cents or something. It was de minimis, right? 100 trillion is worth 7 cents in US dollars, right? And so the fact that if you limit something, there's at least the theoretical possibility that it can't go to 100 trillion because you just can't make any more of them, right? Same thing with gold, silver. It's a limited quantity. It's in the ground. You have to dig it up. It costs money. Those kinds of things. But in the end, I think that Bitcoin or any other coin, crypto type of coin, is faith. People have faith. There's the maximum limit, in this case, 21 million on Bitcoin. But the far bigger piece, and I think this is really where most Bitcoiners, Bitcoin enthusiasts, or Bitcoin maximalists, as they call themselves, really see the value of the coin, and that is in the utility, right? When Rosa, the pupusa maker in El Salvador, can just stand there with her phone, and you tap your phone, and boom, and all of a sudden 33 cents or however many satoshis that is, moves across. Like, that's great. That was easy for her. And when somebody in the US or Canada can send $300 back to mom and $299 gets to mom, right? I mean, that's utility. That's real utility. And so the utility piece of Bitcoin specifically, and I don't really think many of the other coins are really going to survive the next 10 years. I think most of the coins that came out were speculative. People made them, they sold them, they hyped them, and they made a lot of money. And there's no utility to those coins, many of those coins. I think Bitcoin is a survivor. I think Ethereum probably is as well. There are several other coins that have utility. And when you have utility, well, I mean, it's like anything with a use, right? It has some intrinsic value to someone. But overall, it's a great question. I don't know that there's any, great answer to it. There's a lot of faith. Certainly, there's the limited 21 million. But in Bitcoin's case, the utility factor, I think, is probably as much as anything on the value of the coin long term.
Well, thank you. You answered my question. I appreciate that. Will you be giving us your contact info?
Absolutely. You shoot an email real quick to affiliate@ecidevelopment.com. Shanae will get that. And Shanae, my email is mcobb, MCOBB at ecidevelopment.com. So you could send me a note, but if you send it to Shanae, she always copies me on a response, and then you'll have my contact information as well.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. This was very crypto specific, and we may have some more questions. Lisa, I can't see if we do or not. But the one thing I would encourage you to do, and we've given some presentations with you all in the past on some of your global days and global events, and that is a much fuller presentation of the due diligence and the value that we bring as realtors to the outbound global transaction. And if you'd like to see just a basic overview of that program, how it works, Shanae will send that to you as well. Just shoot an email. They're affiliated at ecidevelopment.com, and she'll send you something on that. I would encourage you to take a look at that. Again, your clients really don't know that they need you, but they really, really do. And when you can bring that value to the transaction, they will certainly appreciate that.
Hey, Mike, and hi, everybody. Sorry, I don't have my camera or anything on. This is Shanae here. I'm in the middle of a construction zone this morning, so it's loud and crazy, but affiliate at ecidevelopment.com. It's there on the screen. And then we do have quite a few folks asking for the recording. So Lisa, since your department is the one that was so gracious to put this program on this morning, I'm certain that they will be sending out the recording to everybody after this is completed.
All right, thank you, Shanae. Lisa, Tanya, thank you both for having me. Thanks everybody for joining. We're around by email, phone call if folks have other questions they think of later. But is it Ellen? I can't read your name very well. Ellen, is it Ellen? Yes, Ellen. All right, make sure you send me your mailing address. Here, hang on, I'll show you. I got some fine organic chocolate coming your way. Okay.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Student of the day. All right, a student. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I put it in the chat unless you want me to email it to you.
Well, Shanae, if you'll grab that out of the chat, that would be great.
I put it into my Cobb personal, the chat in here, or I can email. I'll email too.
Thank you. No, please do. That's better. And all right, Lisa, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Like, this was great. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Lots of fun. Always great to be with y'all. So.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Shanae. We're glad to have everybody here. Thanks again for the presentation.
Thank you so much for having us, Lisa. We really appreciate it. And this was great. And we love everybody's enthusiasm, and I look forward to making connections with a lot of you guys.
That's great. Awesome.
Bye.
If you have any questions, we'll talk to you later. All right. Thanks, Mike.